Alright, so I'm just gonna quickly go over this bike and just explain a few things here. So it's got dual discs up front. This bag here fits a 1 liter pop bottle perfect, so that's the reserve tank. Stock Harley headlight. I just got those spike risers, they were like $100. These bars are high quality chrome, chromoly. They're thick. I made these brackets for the forward controls so you can move them back to where they should be. That's an oil catch can that comes up to a breather there. It's an 80 cubic inch, 4-speed transmission, points. All of the electronics in this bike have been replaced. The stator rotor here, when I first got this bike, I had to wire it and everything myself. A couple of the magnets were loose in that, and they were grounding out on the stator and putting power through the wire directly into the battery, and it was fusing the cells on the battery. So I think this is the 5th battery in it now. It's had a few stators in it, a few voltage regulators, a few ignitions. Once I figured out that it was that stator rotor, I didn't have any more problems as far as electronics go. It's got new points in it, and I have an extra set. It's suicide clutch with jockey shift. So it's, when you're shifting down, you're pulling up. So it's 1 up and then 3 down. So if you're sitting at a light in first gear, you take off, rev it up, slam your foot down on the clutch, just give that a slap, you're in your next gear. It's a pretty sweet setup. 3-inch belt drive. This pouch and the signal lights are all mounted to this seat bracket that I made that has 3 springs instead of 2. It's way more comfortable. The speedo is for a Jap bike, it's not accurate. What this says is 40 is a school zone. That's about all I need to know anyhow. I know when I'm speeding and when I'm not. If somebody put a deposit on this, I could move those controls back. The kickstand is welded to that bracket, so that would be a little tricky, but I would do that if somebody's buying the bike and it's too big for them. So, metal signal lights. These switches have LEDs. They're pretty bright. Under the tank there's an electronic flasher unit. It'll work with LEDs. The tail light is an LED 1157 because it shook so hard I was replacing the bulb every 2 weeks. If you turn on both signals at the same time, you have synchronized 4-way flashers, which is nice to have. It's a 2.5 gallon sporty tank, pour 15 kit. Both the front and rear fender are Fat Boy front fenders. It's kickstart only. I have an extra set of pipes for it. With the, not pipes, I have a set of stock Harley mufflers, but I don't know anyone would put them on. With drag pipes, you get drag lag, So when you start out your first gear, you don't really have a whole ton of power. As soon as you get your speed up a little bit and you get into the higher mid RPMs, it's like a turbo kicking in, and it damn near sucks you off the bike. As long as you keep it in those high RPMs, it's fast as hell. If you're not ready for taking off quick, if you're in a lower gear and somebody decides to race you a split second, you're not gonna drop a gear and catch up that quick. But off the line, if you're planning on it, this bike does haul. From 50 kilometers an hour to 150 kilometers an hour, I was keeping up to a 1000 Ninja the other day and followed it around windy country roads. Excuse my language. So it's running. It's a wicked bike. You're always going to be tinkering with it, tightening stuff, adjusting stuff. I've bought the things that it really needed. Like the original primary was in really rough shape. I really didn't want to have to buy a belt drive, but I did. The wiring was a nightmare. That cost me a fortune. Like, I'm into this bike for at least 10 grand, and I've ridden it for... I couldn't ride last year. I worked on it all year and put money and time into it, and I couldn't even really ride it. I was blowing up a battery every time I went out and kept thinking I had it. I finally got it about a week before the end of the season last year. I figured it out. I rode for a week straight, and I was one of the first bikes on the road this year, and I've been riding it like crazy. It's my daily rider. I go back and forth between Vernon and Kelowna all the time. With the 4-speed transmission, it's not a great highway bike with no windshield, no fairing, no nothing. I'm 6'7", so a gust of wind hits me and it's basically like I'm a sail getting pulled all over the road. It does 150, 160, 170 on the highway, no problem. I don't usually go that fast, but it will do it. One way to get cheap power for this would be to get a Thunderjet for the S&S Super E-Carb, but it's about $100 and it's supposed to... I'm not exactly 100% sure on how it technically works. It gives it more fuel in the higher RPMs when it needs it. So that would be nice to have. I'm upgrading to a R1 1000 crotch rocket, so to me this bike isn't worth putting in $10,000 to $15,000 to try and make it fast as shit. If you want to go fast as shit, it's not the right bike. It is fast, it's just not a race car. This bike's all about style and sound, like, especially with that jockey shift. It's just badass going down the road. My buddy did this paint at Kingfisher. The base coat is tuxedo black, which has really small gold flake in it, mixed with intense blue, which is like the bright Ford blue metallic, and that ended up making a greenish metallic color, which is strange. So he sprayed that for the base coat, and then I got him to mix 25% cobalt blue with 75% clear coat, and it's got 3 coats on it. So it's a teal with a blue top coat. So it looks dark blue at night, and it's like a really nice bright teal in the sun. The only real issue is there was something in the Bondo, and it's got this spot. It's not getting any worse. I can get him to respray that for a decent price, but it's not getting any worse, so it's perfect. Other than that, it's a brand new paint job, and it's a spot where you can't see it, so I wasn't going to make him redo it. But anyways, that's the bike. It's too late to fire it up right now. I'll make another video of that tomorrow in the daytime. The video really can't show the sound. It's not, I mean, it sounds mean as hell when you just sit here and rev it, but when you downshift, it's got such a mean old muscle snarl to it. Like, new Harleys don't have that. They've got like the chopper sound, and they sound pretty good when you're revving them. But as soon as you pull the clutch in on a new Harley, it goes quiet until you shift to the next gear. This thing snarls. It's all about style, not speed. But it does rip. Anyways, thanks for watching.